Imagine, you've arrived to attend a theatrical production. Suddenly, the spotlight is on you. You are no longer an audience member, but brought on stage as a performer. To many, this may sound like a nightmare, but in the research I've been doing this summer, it is actually a key part of the theatrical experience. Participatory theater is an increasingly popular genre of performance which can range from walking tours to murder mysteries to international voyages and more, all of which are experienced through the body. This summer, I joined Dr. Jenn Stephenson to research what it means to participate, studying examples of various participatory theater experiences occurring around the world before the COVID-19 pandemic and attending works made during the pandemic designed specifically for a remote context. Through my research, I began to understand how embodied experiences of participation can situate participants in time and space in new and exciting ways. Participants can be transported to hypothetical contexts or past events they have no lived experience of, such as in Lemon Bucket Orchestra's Counting Sheep, which simulated the 2013 Kiev protests. I began to develop a theory of temporal embodiment, applicable to any and all participatory performances, analyzing the role of the participant, their specific participation in a performance event, and how these combine to generate a unique experience of the event. By physically embodying a narrative, participants are actively making meaning as opposed to passively receiving information, potentially gaining a more intimate connection or heightened ability to understand the subject matter. In my research, I began to notice undeniable similarities between the participatory theater I was analyzing and a different event, protests. I realized that in the Black Lives Matter protests happening this summer, there was embodied performative participation occurring. Protesters gathered and marched in formations, occupying space and even reenacting physical actions, such as kneeling for 8 minutes. Instead of passively experiencing systemic inequality and racial injustice, protesters actively embody resistance in a public space, gaining power over it, and in turn forcing those who oppose them to be conscious of how they embody the role of oppressors. Comparing protests to theater does not belittle their significance or purpose as real events. It shows my developing theory of temporal embodiment can offer analysis of how staging bodies in protests similarly generates powerful affect in the way that participatory theater can. Embodiment plays a vital, transformative role in any participatory event. Bodies have the power to make abstract concepts concrete, to assert and situate them in space, and allow participants to address the past, act in the present, and change the future. I am fascinated both by how participatory theater will continue to harness the power of embodiment and how my research can be applied to other performance events like protests, such as historical reenactments and cultural events.